Have you ever had leadership announce a change and then your team immediately becomes confused and frustrated? One of the most challenging parts of middle management is you don't just execute the strategy, you have to interpret it. Your team doesn't always experience strategy documents. They experience how the change affects their daily work. In this leading from the middle, I want to show you how clearly communicating strategic changes builds trust and helps your team execute instead of resist. Sometimes there's this disconnect that staff are just the cogs in the wheel, the busy bees. They're just doing things that are just helping the organization move forward. But sometimes the organization or leaders or strategists will communicate to the group of whether strategies changed or how they're changing or the impact of the change on their daily work. So then we just find ourselves completely splitting from a staff and a organizational leadership perspective, the initiatives that are not working or not connecting to the greater goal of what we're striving towards. And so us as the middle managers are the bridge to that. And we have to get clear on defining those strategies, understand the impact of those strategies have on our teams, and then communicate and relay that information. And then relay that back up as well if there are some gaps and in thinking or understanding of what success could look like in the organizational goal. By having that dialogue and working to connect what is already happening within the workspace for your teams, they, again, could see you working to understand their perspective. You're understanding the impacts of these changes from an initiative or how it burdens them to execute or all the steps it takes to execute it. You're moving to understand those pieces because that impacts how they show up in their work or how the work gets accomplished. So being a person that is always constantly thinking about the goals and the strategies, always thinking about the current work, being the one to help either bridge that gap or set the barriers or guardrails so that the work can get accomplished or understand the impacts of those things, you will continue to get that trust from the team to say that you understand what they're going through. I know for a fact that teams don't just resist just for resistance sake. They often resist when there's some unclear changes. When leaders explain not just what is changing, but why it matters and how it affects daily work, people often move from uncertainty to cooperation. So my challenge for you this week is to take one recent organizational change and explain it to your team how it specifically affects their responsibilities and priorities. When you do that, you'll be able to see how your clarity turns strategy into execution.